I've had this Pinky Winky hydrangea in my greenhouse for about a year, and it started off as a little bitty quart size plant, and I overwintered it, and I up potted it in this larger pot. Looks like it's about a gallon size pot, and it has just really taken off. It's probably heavily root bound, and because they're so cold hardy, I feel like I can plant it now in September and it will do fine over the winter. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this in the ground. It looks really healthy right now, and I just don't want to have to overwinter it again. So this is the Pinky Winky, and I have somewhat tree formed it. You can kind of see it's a one stalk, and then it divides into two. But the main thing is just, get it in the ground so it can get its roots established before next season. So I'm gonna go get this one in the ground. So I've picked out this spot to plant the Pinky Winky hydrangea. There is a few things in here that get pretty tall. This Golden Globe arborvitae is going to get kind of bushy, probably about 4 foot wide. So I kind of want to give a little room from it. And then I also have a rhododendron in the back, and it blooms in the early spring. So this will still probably be just coming out of dormancy when that's blooming, so it shouldn't overshadow that. I also have an azalea that's kind of hiding in the back here. So that's my only concern. But from this angle, if you come around, you can kind of see it here. There's the azalea. So hopefully this will be a good spot. I'm sure if it's not, I can move it. But I got to get it in the ground somewhere. And if I don't make a decision, it'll never get planted. So I'm gonna dig me a hole and use my Biotone starter fertilizer, and I've got me a bag of mulch ready to go. So I'm gonna get to planting. All right, I'm gonna see if got to hold it deep enough. Yeah, I think so. All right, just need to put a little bit of Biotone starter in there. And now I just need to backfill it. I'm going to backfill it about halfway and then put a little more of the Biotone starter fertilizer in there. And that way some of the roots near the sides and top can also get a little dose of it. There's a lot of gravel in here. I think I'm going to water it in while it's halfway. That way I'll have a little reservoir that will hold the water and let it kind of settle around the roots. Just trying to make sure there's no major air pockets. I'll let it sit there and soak in. Alright, it's pretty soaked in, so I'm going to go ahead and finish backfilling it and then probably top layer it with a little bit of land and sea compost, and then I will cover it with mulch and probably have to put a protector around the little trunk there because the rabbits tend to want to chew on woody things like that, especially in the wintertime. When I pack it in, I'm not going to press really hard because I don't want to basically pack the soil too hard around it, but I definitely want to secure it. So it may look like I'm really pressing, but I'm not pressing that hard. I'll probably sprinkle a little more water on it. This thing kind of wants to lean. I'll probably have to support it with some type of a stake. I'm going to put a little more water on it and then go get the land and sea compost, and then our job will be done. I had just a little bit of the land and sea compost in this bag. Not sure, probably is not quite enough, but just enough to put just a tiny layer. All right, and now I'm gonna put the compost around it. This is just some brown mulch that I get at Lowe's. right. I've got my little name tag here, but as you can see, it's almost faded off. So I'm gonna rewrite Pinky Winky on there, and then I'll put it in there, and that'll just remind me what this is. All right, I went back in, used my garden marker, and as you can see, it's a lot more legible now. I always do it on both sides. Sometimes when the sun hits one side, it'll fade it out, but it won't the other. So that way I can kind of guarantee I'll be able to read it. So I'm just gonna put it in the ground, and that way I'll always remember this is a Pinky Winky. You think you remember, but I never do. All right, I'll mist it one more time with water, and we'll call this job complete. Alrighty, I just need to say a prayer over it. So this might look ugly, but it will protect it from the rabbits. It's just some hardware cloth. It's like 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch hardware cloth that I just cut, and then I bend the little ends back so that it makes a complete circle. You can just kind of see where I've cut it, and then I just bend the little pieces back every so often just to hold it together. And there's no way a rabbit can get to any of the branches here, and they are very destructive, especially in the winter, because I guess when there's not a lot for them to eat, they'll go after tender branches that's got, I guess, maybe some green in it to sustain them through the winter. So if you don't do something like this, they will destroy it and sometimes completely kill it. They'll chew, the branches completely off. A lot of times I'll find them just on the ground, and it'll be a perfect little angle slice. And I know it's the rabbits because I've actually caught them doing it. So anyway, now it's not only planted, but it is protected. So I feel good about it. The other day, I went to a local nursery, greenhouse, and I found some great deals on some perennials. They had marked down a lot of their proven winners, perennials, to 50% off the lowest marked price. And the lady told me they were going to get in some things for fall and some like pansies and things like that, and they had to make room for that, so they were getting rid of all of their perennials that did not sell. And so I racked up on a few plants. So I want to just show you what you can get. Now, not all of our local greenhouses and nurseries around here have perennials, and especially not the proven winners. So I had to go to a neighboring town, but it was only about a 35-minute drive, and it was well worth it, because a lot of these plants would have cost me probably $20-something just for the plant to be shipped to me, in addition to sometimes $15-17 and or more for shipping. So just to give you an example, these were all the same size pots. All of these are the same size pots. Now, I'm thinking that these are 2-gallon pots. I could be wrong. You can see by my hand size, how big they are. So I think they are bigger than a gallon, because I think this one back here is actually a gallon size. Now, that came from a different town the other direction, about 35 minutes. They were a little hardware store, and I just happened to see some plants outside the hardware store, and they were marked down, And I believe this is a gallon pot. But again, I could be wrong. I don't know where it shows that. But this was marked down to like 80% off of this plant. They were just, it was a hardware store. They were wanting to move these plants out. They just kind of had it as a side thing. And this is a Proven Winners. This is the Storm Cloud. It's covered with dirt. This is the Storm Cloud Amsonia. And I've already got one of these in my garden bed over there. And in the spring, it has the most beautiful little star-shaped, just pale blue, true blue blooms on it. So I just thought this was a deal. And it was regularly priced $23.99, but I got it at 80% off. And that was the only one I saw there that I really wanted. But these all came from a different greenhouse. And I got 2 of the Storm Cloud Amsonias there, and these appear to be double the size of the pots. This was the marked down price, $9.79, and I got it 50% off of that. So it was like $4.75 or $4 and I don't know, 60 something cents. I'm trying to do it in my head. So for $4 and something, I got a 2-gallon pot perennial, the Storm Cloud Amsonia. And then I got another one right there, same size. Now they don't look so healthy right now because they're just tired from all the heat, but they will look gorgeous next spring. So I'm excited. So I've got 3 of the Storm Cloud Amsonias, and then I got this one, which is the Proven Winners Luminary Backlight. This is the tall garden phlox. Now it does look really sad. It does have some blooms on it, but it is just, I'm sure it's just tired of the heat. You can see that it's actually sending out new growth here. There's a lot of these little new growths, but a lot of it looks very old and spent. But it will look beautiful, next summer. So that one was $9.49. And that was 50% off of that. When I looked at my receipt, it was like $4 and something for each one of these, which was pretty cool. So that was the Proven Winners, the Luminary Backlight. So, this time of year, if you have any money to spend, it is an excellent time to go to some of your garden centers. If you don't have one in your, in your town, there's probably one in a neighboring town. And just drive around, and even like I said, the hardware stores, places like Rural King, they've got plants like this that are marked down. This one here, I was real excited to get because this is a Proven Winners rose bush, and I don't have one of these yet. Now I do, but this one was also a 50% off. Now just to show you, this originally was almost $29. $28.99. That was the original retail price, and then they marked it down to, I don't see it on here, but all of these plants were like $9 and something, and then that was marked off 50%. I don't see this one, the $9, but all of them had this like $9 and something on the pot. So this is the Proven Winners Rose, the Reminiscent Coral. And I just think it's a beautiful rose. The color is beautiful. And it is one of those roses that do not get very tall. It only gets 2 to 3.5 feet tall and only 2 feet wide. I'm sorry, I can't. This thing is twisted around where you can't really see it. And the wind is blowing horribly right now, but I'm not complaining because it's gorgeous outside. So it's a USDA hardiness zone 4 to 9. And so I can plant anything in zone 4. I can plant this fall and it will do fine because we are now in zone 7A. So certainly anything that's, 2 or 3 hardiness zones colder than us, it will do fine if we plant it in the fall. It probably prefers that. And then last but not least, I thought this was a very exciting plant because I don't have one of these. I've seen a lot of talk about this plant. This one was also 50% off. And this one was called the Aphrodite Sweet Shrub by Proven Winners. And it's pretty much a small tree. It gets 6 to 12 feet tall and wide. It's a USDA hardiness zone 5B to 9. So even this one I could plant in the fall. It blooms in the summer and it's known for its wonderful fragrance. So it's got large flowers. It's long blooming, it says. So I was real excited about this one. I mean, look how big this plant is. You know, and again, 50% off the lowest marked price. It had already been marked down several times and started off at almost $30, and I think I got it for $4 and something. So pretty exciting. So what I'm going to do is probably plant some of these and pick these pretty days when we're not harvesting and get them in the ground one by one.